So in this video we're now going to set up a pause for the character. So when he reaches one of these target cubes, he's going to pause for a little bit before continuing on to the next one. So let's just open the script. We can just double click there actually in order to open this. Okay, so what we're going to need to do for this one is we need a coroutine. Okay, so let me just click Help Scripting Reference. Microsoft Edge is fine. I'm just going to type in coroutine so that you can at least do a little bit of research into this. Okay. So start coroutine is what we want basically. So the execution of a coroutine can be paused at any point using the yield statement. Alright, and that's exactly what we want to do. We actually want to pause this script, okay, before it goes on to run any other commands. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So if at any point you know what the command is or the function, but you're not entirely sure how you should write that, you can obviously just go to Help, Scripting Reference, come here, type in what it is you're looking for, and obviously read through the documentation. It actually gives you some examples of how to actually use that. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do. So under the on trigger enter, instead of having this move to target, what I want to do is I actually want to start a coroutine. So start coroutine. Okay, and it automatically completes it for me, so it does have a couple of capital letters there. Okay, and I think I'm going to call this one waiting, and call it anything you like as long as it's consistent. Okay, so waiting. Now I get a little bit of a red line because it says waiting does not yet exist. I've not yet created anything yet. So let's do that now. Down at the bottom we have to create this now, and it's going to be an IEnumerator. So once again, if you need to do some research on IEnumerator, then just go to Help and Scripting Reference and you can read more about that. So this is necessary in order to run a coroutine. Enumerator. Okay, and it's called waiting. Now notice, as soon as I do that, okay, the reason why it's red at the moment, it's just there's nothing in here yet to tell it what to do, but notice that this one's no longer got a red squiggle under it, because now it recognizes that we're actually using it. Okay, so the next thing we need is a yield. Yield will tell it to actually stop, pause what it's doing for a certain amount of time. So yield return new, and it's going to be a wait for seconds, all one word, and we have to give it a number. Alright, so we could say wait for 5 seconds. Okay, now notice that our red squiggle has disappeared under waiting because now it's actually got a command, so it knows what to do with that. And then after it's waited, we're actually going to set contact back to false. So equals false. Now because we're setting it there, we don't need to set it here. So what I'm going to do temporarily is just comment this out by putting a couple of those in. Okay, these are obviously the / buttons, and this move to target, we no longer need this in the on trigger enter. Instead, we're actually going to put it down here. Okay, so move to target. So what we're doing is we're kind of forcing it to start the pause function, and then after it's finished with the pause function, then to run this function, which basically gets the enemy moving it again. Okay, so at the moment it's 5. Now obviously if we're going to attach this script to, let's say, 5 enemies, maybe you want them all to pause for different amounts of time. If you hard code like this, obviously they all have to pause for 5 seconds. What would be better is if we can actually create something in the inspector that can be changed for individual enemies. So let's do that. let's serialize a field, and it's going to be of a type integer, so it's a whole number, and we can specify how long that is in terms of time. I'm going to call this wait time. Once again, you can call it anything you like. Equals 0 by default. Alright, so 0 means the character does not pause at all. Okay, and then we can change this hard coding, this 5, take it out and type in wait time. So now it recognizes whatever that value is, that's how long it actually should wait for. And by the way, there is easier ways to actually code than this. Alright, but sometimes when it's more practical and easier to code, it actually becomes a little bit more complex in terms of its terminology and its language. Sometimes people who are new to coding don't quite understand the language. Even though it may make more sense for the computer, it no longer makes sense to us in terms of what it's doing, unless you have a lot of experience with code. So the way that I'm coding at the moment is I'm trying to make it all make sense. So it's almost like in basic English, so that you can follow along with it. Perhaps later, toward the end of this course, I could actually optimize this code a little bit more and make it work a lot better. But I will show you that as we get toward the end of the course. At the moment, I'm trying to keep everything super basic. Okay, so this should then pause for the wait time, and then as soon as that's over, it will then run this function and get the character moving. So let's save this. Wait for it to compile. Make sure there are no errors. Okay, so check your console. We've only got a couple of warnings, but that's fine. Forget about those. And now, when we click on the enemy, we can see we've got a new slot called wait time. Now I'm going to change this to probably about 4 seconds.